Today I'm going to be installing these monkey wrench braided brake lines onto my 2005 Toyota Corolla XRS. And as well as that, we're also going to put some fresh pads and some fresh rotors on here because these are, well, they're a little crusty. So you might be wondering, why replace these old brake lines? There's nothing wrong with them, they're not leaking. So what is the benefit of switching over to braided lines when these work just fine? So these rubber lines are very flexible and soft, and what happens if you hit the brakes really hard is that these lines can expand outwards. Even while daily driving, they can expand a little bit, and it's not really a big deal. These perform much better because they don't expand outwards. So when you push the brake pedal, it goes right through, straight to the caliper, no expanding, nothing. So that means a firmer and more precise feeling brake pedal. And there we have it, brake line on the floor, and we just have the hard line remaining, dripping out a bunch of brake fluid. Put a mat down here so it doesn't get all over my floor. So now let's go ahead and put this new braided brake line on. I won't connect it to the caliper just yet, we'll get there shortly, but I just want to finish that part first. Now I was going to leave the brake line like this for now while I work with this. That way I can put the caliper on the floor and not have to worry because the brake line is not connected. So I'm going to pull the caliper off, take the brake pads out, take this rotor out, and swap it with some new stuff. Let's check these brake pads out. Oh, okay, that's not a good start. Oh wow, that's got a lot of life left. And the rotor's moving? Oh my gosh, this is the easiest brake job I've ever done. This is the nicest an old brake rotor has ever come off. These brakes were probably replaced before I bought this car, so replacing them probably wasn't necessary. Oh well. Right, now that we've got the caliper in place, we can connect the brake line and finish this corner up. And we're done. Now that I think about it, I should have greased the back of the pads, but oh well. With the front done here, now we're gonna go over to the rear. So on the rear, it's the same idea as on the front, except it's actually easier because there's no extra bracket that I need to take off. Just a really short line that goes from the hard line here right to the caliper here. Only about that much distance. And this applies to Corollas with drum brakes too. They pretty much have the same sort of line here. I believe Monkey Wrench also sells this full kit for front discs, rear drums too, if you're interested. So what I'm going to do here is actually work with the rotors and pads and stuff first and get to this last. And I think that's what I should have done on the front as well. That way I would have lost less brake fluid. And also another thing I need to check, the handbrake is currently up right now, and this spins freely. So I'm gonna have to see what the problem is here, if it's a problem with the shoes, or a problem with the cable, or something. I'm not sure. It doesn't do this on the left side, it only does it on this side. So I'm gonna have to see what that's about. Brake pads look good, but I've got new ones anyway, so those are spares now. Normally I wouldn't dangle this caliper like this, but I really don't care what happens to this soft line here because, I mean, we're replacing it, so I really don't care. It can just hang out here as long as it wants to. Wow, this one's the most stubborn of the bunch. I have a spare backing plate that I'll put on this car eventually, but my spare backing plate is currently still in storage in Wisconsin, so this is gonna have to stay for a little while longer. Aha! Okay, let's see what's going on in here. So why doesn't the handbrake work on this side? Okay, so what it looks like is the cable's not really doing anything. None of this is moving, so that's not a good sign. Well, that's really annoying. I thought this was gonna be an easy job. All I would need to do is just adjust down here. There we go. This cylinder's compressed now. Alright, let's see if I remember how to put the hardware back. Let's see, so this slips under, goes on top there, and then goes in the hole there. This one goes in that hole, swing it around, comes down there. There we go. This goes into that hole, and then goes over that one. And I think that's how it's done. New pads, new rotor. Now we need the new line. Okay. There we go. PB Blaster, soak those threads there. Alright, there we go. Threads are free. Now this banjo bolt comes out, and now brake fluid goes everywhere. There we go. 14 mil, tighten it up, but don't over tighten it because it's a banjo bolt. And banjo bolts will break easy because they're hollow on the inside. There we go. Alright, that is everything done. Line is in, new brake pads in, rotors in on all four corners. Now we can bleed the brakes. So this is how I bleed my brakes, and honestly I'm quite surprised not more people do this. So here's what I've got going on. This is the bleeder valve, and right here at the bleeder valve I've got a hose running down to a half-filled bottle of brake fluid. And what I'm gonna do is top off the master cylinder and then break this loose, then go inside the car and pump the brakes several times until I'm sure that there's no air pockets in here. And the way I tell is just feeling the brake pedal and feeling it firm up. because once the brake pedal feels firmer than when I started, that's when I know that air has left the system. And then I'm going to be doing this on all 4 corners, of course, starting with the furthest away from the master cylinder and going around. So we're going to start here at the rear right, then go to the rear left, then front right, and finishing off front left. So I've been having kind of a tough time bleeding these brakes, and I really was wondering why. I was just going back and forth between all 4 corners over and over again, and yet still the pedal would just sink to the floor, and I just couldn't get it to go. And I checked everywhere for leaks, and it's not leaking anywhere, and I was really confused. And then I discovered something. This is the front left-hand side brake caliper, and when I had this hose connected up to the bleeder, and I was continuously pumping the brakes, I would notice on all the other calipers, the fluid level would go down. And on this one, the fluid level wouldn't go down. And I was wondering why. So I took out the bleeder, and as you can see there, this opening, which is inside the caliper, is just completely jammed up with whatever it is that is, most likely corrosion. So when I cracked this open, it really didn't do anything because this is all gummed up with stuff. At this point, I've pretty much determined that this bleeder screw is screwed. I was about to run over to the parts store, and then I remembered something. A couple years ago, and I don't remember when or why, I took off the bleed screw from the Turbo Corolla brakes, the stock brakes, and I put the screw somewhere, and I've just remembered that the screw was in my wallet, and here it is. I have an extra 9th gen Corolla brake caliper bleeder screw. This is just the kind of stuff that happens, I guess. So I'm gonna just pull this one off again. I put this jammed up bleeder screw back in just because brake fluid was leaking out, obviously. But I can now take this out and put this other one in here. And we'll just drive it in. Okay, that's tightened. So, hose, put it back here, and then take this new bleed screw and loosen it up, crack it loose. How's the master cylinder looking? Yep, it's got enough fluid in there. Alright, here we go. In the car, pump the brakes, and let's see, fluid's gone down. And then pump the brakes a little bit more just to be on the safe side. Tighten it up, and that was the last one. Let's see if the brake pedal stiffened up. Ah, yes. There we go. The brake pedal is stiff now. Let's go. Can't really see much behind my winter wheels here, but you can kind of see little slotted and drilled rotors behind there. Overall, not that bad of an install. Thank you all very much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate your time, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.